Hello, everyone. So my name is Matej Merlic. I'm a producer-writer here from Zagreb.
And I am Agnieszka Petite. I am a Lithuanian screenwriter living in Bremen, Germany.
So before we dive in, we'd like to shortly introduce ourselves. I graduated film production here at the Academy in Zagreb. And early on after that, I started working as a producer partner in a production company, Castro Multimedia. Since then, I've produced a number of films, TV series, and TV formats. Most recently, a documentary series, The One and Only, which was shortlisted for Rose D'Or this year. We've been standing next to productions of BBC and Netflix. Also, I co-developed a game show, Travel Bug, which I was honored to be awarded for this very competition a few years ago, and where I also actually met Agne.
Yes, and my professional screenwriting journey actually started here in Zagreb 2019, when my other project was also a finalist. I met my agent here, and since then I worked with major production companies in Germany like Saxonia Media, Odeon Fiction, Hagermoss, and Drive Beta. But before screenwriting, I was in a very different industry. I was in space industry, and I worked on projects with European Space Agency, European Commission, the Agency for Space Program, and other entities. I am also an alumna of International Space University, and the alumni network of this fun institution include real-life astronauts, people working in space agencies like NASA, and companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin. So combining our different experiences, Matej and I created this project.
Right, so a few years later, on the same team, with the same project, in joint forces, we're presenting you a project, the Astronaut experience. Now, with the Astronaut experience, we want to do several things, but first and foremost, we want to educate our audience through entertainment. So we want to promote science, technology, engineering, and mathematics through the idea of traveling to space and becoming an astronaut, which was, by the way, a lifelong dream of mine. So relying on Agne's experience and background in European Space Agency, and through lots of research, we decided to embark on this inspiring journey and design a specific set of skills that are required for someone to become a well-equipped space traveler. So basically, we want to bring space closer to Earth and our contestants and our audience closer to space.
Indeed. So the Astronaut Experience is a competitive game show where the contestants compete for an opportunity to become a space traveler. It is a pan-European show, so European countries that participate pick out their own contestants and then send them to the Astronaut Experience that would ideally be held in European Space Agency's facilities in Germany. So the format is something like Eurovision or European Song Contest, and the countries could select choose how to select their contestants themselves, or, well, we also have some ideas. The competition itself is a series of obstacles designed to test the contestants' skills. And skills include cognitive, spatial orientation, problem solving, teamworking, survival, basically all the skills that are necessary for an astronaut. Well, now you might be thinking that we need a very expensive setup and have equipment that you've seen NASA has or in the movie Armageddon. But rest assured, that's not what we need. We can actually test these skills in a fairly inexpensive setup that simulates the experiences that trainee astronauts had to go through. So, for example, here we have a gyroscope. So it's a carousel type of a thing with a seat in the middle, and it can rotate 360 degrees. And in the gyroscope obstacle, the contestant would be strapped in the middle and rotated around, and they would have to repeat a certain set of numbers backwards. And this relates to the fact that astronauts have to be able to function cognitively, memorize numbers, and recite them from sensors on the space station, so on International Space Station or on a spacewalk when they're tumbling every way around in microgravity. The other obstacles would be made in a similar manner, but we do hope that if European Space Agency does become a partner of the show, we could use part of their equipment from in the European Astronaut Center in Cologne. The show has 10 episodes, 15 minutes each, and it is that series of obstacles. It also has a 24-hour survival game and what is called the analog astronaut experience, but we will not go into all the details in this pitch.
Right. The show also has a host. So the host should be a TV professional with some scientific background. That would be someone, the best example would be someone of profile like Neil deGrasse Tyson. The jury, or as we call it, mission control, would consist of 3 astronauts or ESA professionals who would evaluate contestants and give professional feedback about their success. Now, all of this, of course, isn't for granted. We want to award our best contestants and give them and offer them valuable prizes. The main prize, of course, is a trip to space. Now, the nature of this very award depends on a sponsor. And an ideal sponsor for the show would be a company like Virgin Galactic by Mr. Richard Branson, or companies similar to Blue Origin or SpaceX. Beside the private companies, we also want to partner with space agencies from each of the competing countries, their national ministries and ministries of science and education, and of course the main partner in the project, European Space Agency. It's worth saying that we did spread the word about the project to ESA, and we hope to pitch the whole concept in the beginning of the next year. In terms of the general relevance, just a few days ago, ESA selected 17 new astronaut candidates from more than 22,000 applicants. And that's the first astronaut selection in more than a decade. So as the technology develops, space is of course becoming much more accessible, and space trips as well. We believe there's a strong interest for this type of actions, and for that concept is proven by the companies like Virgin Galactic and Blue Origin that are actually offering space tourism. Here at NEM, we're looking for interested investors, interested distributors and broadcasters, and of course of people who can put us in touch with Mr. Richard Branson. So thank you for your time, and we'd be happy to talk to you after pitch. Thanks.
Hello everyone, my name is Laura Pribanic and I'm a MA student in production of audiovisual and multimedia projects at the Academy of Dramatic Arts in Zagreb. Here with me is also my colleague, Bela Bračko-Milešević. Also, I am a student in film and TV directing in documentary film. Today, we will present to you my graduation project that we have been working on for the last year. It's a multimedia project called Projekt Rastanak, or if you want it in English, Project Parting. So, during the period of the entrance exam for the MA study, 2 friends of mine experienced really big losses. I knew it was terribly difficult for both of them because they had lost people they were closest to. So I began to think how 2 different separations from person can cause almost the same emotions. Also, I realized that it would be unfair to compare which parting is worse, because for each of them, her parting was the worst and the hardest she has ever experienced. So in short, I wanted to create the project in which I would explore how people do perceive partings, which types of partings exist, and how someone deals with them. Also, I wanted to show that partings also have some positive sides, because word itself hides the most important thing that happens to all of us at some point after parting and period of grieving, and that is growth, character, emotional, and spiritual. So I decided to deal with partings using 3 media: audiovisual, audio, and textual. The audiovisual segment consists of 7 episodes. Each episode would primarily be dedicated to one protagonist and his or her most scientific parting in life. The second segment of the project are audio podcast interviews, and each conversation is connected to one topic of a single episode of the series. So since the podcast host talks to experts such as psychologists, therapists, and experts from more or less related fields, we also get an objective, unbased approach as a certain expression of the educationally useful part of the project. And the third segment is a digital collection of stored anonymous stories about partings, which are collected during the process of researching for protagonists and also received via the project's website.
I will focus on presenting the visual part of the project, the audiovisual part of the project, I'm sorry. So it was a challenge for us to find a specific approach because partings are passive documentary situations and we didn't want to rely on just using the talking heads method. So we have decided to use the stylized visual approach in a combination with a voiceover, which is an informal conversation between the protagonists and the film crew that breaks the fourth wall. We were inspired by the 7 stages of grief in structuring the series, since we aim to highlight the connection between mourning and parting. Also, we have used the 7 stages of grief to set the tone of the series, since we aim to start from dark and then gradually become brighter in both visual and topic sense. Apart from that, we actually established the stylized visual approach based on the stages of grief that we put the protagonists, that we assigned to the protagonist, and also the theme of the particular story. And apart from that, we used the photographic canvas as a leitmotif in every single episode. And what changes from episode to episode is the approach to the stylized visual, the way of filming and editing. And we have also chosen the soundtrack for the series. It's called Album Variations, which follows the 7 stages of grief through instrumental music.
So, as you can see, we had 3 shootings so far. 1 episode has been edited, and we are editing 2 more right now. The start of the public launch of the project is scheduled for September 2023, and all 3 segments will be available on the project's website as the main platform. In case of a success, a potential second season of the show would be about types of separations that people can experience in certain period of life. For example, parting is typical for 20s.
Sorry, we forgot the previous slide, so I just wanted to say that we have 7 protagonists, and apart from familiar partings that maybe come to mind of all of you, we've also decided to find those that are hidden in particular life situations of specific protagonists.
If we take a brief look at the financial and non-financial aspect of the project, I would like to mention that even though we have already got support from the Croatian Audiovisual Center and Croatian Radio and Television, considering the multi-layered and multimedia nature of the project, we are still looking for some additional sources of funding, because that would certainly mean a lot to us in the realization and closing the financial structure of the project. If we were to win the main prize here, we would invest the amount in other segments of the post-production and also in a quality placement of the project as a whole. So I'm sure that everyone who is sitting here in this room has at least once in life experienced some parting from someone or something that left permanent mark on you. Maybe in that process of grieving, someone told you that your parting is not worth big or important enough to grieve because, well, it's just another relationship breakup, get over it, or, well, it's just a dog, get a new one. I also assume that at some point you thought that you had reached the rock bottom and that you would never come out of it again. But when we realize that we have the responsibility for our lives in our own hands, and that with the help with people who already survived and experienced some similar situations, we can still get something good from that parting, I think that there our growth starts. And when after many more falls and raises, we finally grow, then we know there is always a room at the top if we start from the bottom. So that's it. Thank you all for listening, and the selection jury for the opportunity to be here and to present to you Project Rastanak.
And now this is something completely different. My name is Hrvoje Osvarić. I am the film and TV producer. This is Jasna Nanoc. She's a director, screenwriter, and author. Together, Jasna and I have more than 50 years of experience in the industry. That doesn't mean that we are old, it just means that we are start work very young, like when we was 10. Today, we're going to present you one entertainment show. The name of the show is A Dream Pension. As you can see, please next slide. Yeah, this is Jasna Nanoc and me 50 years from now. And as you can read in the Jasna biography, Jasna was a TV host and presenter, so I'm going to use that for this presentation and leave to Jasna to guide us through this presentation. So,
thank you.
You're welcome.
So, The Dream Pension is an entertaining game show for senior citizens that offers them a chance to make the best of the rest of their lives by winning the Dream Pension in the amount of 400 euros per month for the rest of their lives. It's a primetime TV show that airs weekly. The season consists of 16 episodes in duration of 52 minutes, and our target audience is all. The inspiration comes from the fact that there are millions of pensioners in European Union. Only in Croatia there is around 1,200,000 of them. And we wanted to show that old age can be a lot of fun. And what all of them have in common is that they want a bigger pension. So, the hook here is firstly nostalgia, which we all have a soft spot for. And we will bring it out through the candidates, their memories, the challenges, and the whole look and feel of the show. There are also numerous elements, comic elements here in candidates' shaky attempts to fight their way through challenges, also in their perception of modern world, and in life's wisdoms they will reveal along the way. And one thing is very important, that along the way we won't be laughing at them, we will be laughing with them. And our goal with this show is actually to bring back the feel of the old shows that used to gather the whole family in front of TV, such as You Asked For It, The Golden Girls, or The Wheel of Fortune. There are 12 candidates per season, 6 boys and 6 girls of age 65 plus. They are of various profiles, and our task is to bring them together, encourage them to make friends, but also to become competitors and encourage maybe some new love sparks between them. That would definitely be interesting. And what we are looking for is the pensioner with the most vivid spirit. So what all the candidates will have in common is they will be vital, optimistic, with interesting life stories, inspiring and coming from all parts of the country. The atmosphere of the show is supportive and cheerful. A big part of it happens in the studio, which is a warm and colorful setting with retro scenography. We have the audience here as well, consisting mostly of candidates' relatives, grandchildren, friends, and so on. We have a house band. Each episode starts and finishes with a music number, which is usually a modern cover of a hit song from candidates' youth. And some challenges are shot on locations such as spas, museums, and karting tracks. The hosts are a charming, warm, lovable duo. What is funny is that candidates address them as their grandsons. We also have the coaches who help the candidates overcome the challenges. They're also physical therapists. We have a medical team, always on standby, of course, and we have celebrity guests who are also senior citizens and whose professions are connected in a way with the challenges. And the challenges are funny, sometimes even silly. They're based on mental preparation, physical fitness, resourcefulness in space and time, focus and knowledge. And they combine humor and emotion, creating joyful, sometimes bizarre tone of the show. Here are some of them. Our favorite one is...
Our favorite one is Where is the Draft Come From? So if you know, in Balkan countries, mortality rate, the killer number one is a draft. And if you know, you can catch it when you're in your 20s, and it can kill you when you're 90 plus. So be careful. And we're going to test that in that challenge. We have around 20 to 25 challenges in the first season. And they're funny and they have purpose, something like that, like this one.
Yeah, some of them are Which Animal Am I? That's based on guessing which animal is grandchild of one of the candidates' drawing, which won't be easy at all since the child will be 4 or 5 years old. We have fake news, karaoke unplugged, and so on. And here we have a season structure. So it's divided in 2 introductory episodes in which we meet the candidates and they face easier challenges. Then we have even and odd episodes. In even, the candidates can win an advantage in the following episode, and odd episodes are eliminational. That means that the candidates with the lowest score leave the show. We also have 2 semifinals and a grand final, in which 2 best candidates fight for the big win with the help of a team that they form among former candidates. And the best one wins the dream pension.
So, thank you. We are looking for broadcasters, partners. Basically, anyone can help us to dream pension become a reality. Thank you very much.
Moving on to our next category, which is scripted category. Also 3 finalists. We're going to open up with Milena Džambasović and Matija Dragojević, and with their project called Wool.
My name is Milena Džambasović. I'm producer and one of the creators, together with Matija Dragojević, who is also a scriptwriter. We are happy to present you mini-series, Wool, inspired by true events.
Yeah, and so since I feel like a show host, I'm going to start with this tone. Welcome to the swinging 60s, the golden age of Yugoslavia. The Second World War is behind us. Tito has unfriended Stalin and the Soviet Union, and with the arms of the country open towards the West, the economy and the culture are thriving. With the red Yugoslav passport, you can travel anywhere and be greeted with a smile. But why even travel outside of your country? Because in your own country, you can cruise down the coast, go to the mountains, and on the stop, make some stops for rock concerts, dining on truffles and white wine along the way. And I'm not talking about wealthy, high-class citizens, but average working people who are enjoying their 2-week government-paid vacation. Being a Yugoslav citizen in the 60s is pretty cool, unless you're a political prisoner.
Or unless you are a woman. Well, there have been some improvements. Women have right to vote for Tito. And there were also some equality between men and women when it comes to participating in the youth work actions. Despite many changing, some things are still the same. Imagine Mad Men meets communism. On paper, men and women were equal. In reality, women supposed to settle down, marry, and have kids by the age of 25.
So meet our protagonist, Anka. No husband, no kids, at the ripe old age of 30. Anka kind of left her desire of any traditional role back in the hometown where she was born, and she now lives in Belgrade, enjoying a lot of the perks of the times we live in the 60s. In her heart, she's an entrepreneur, but in reality, she works as an assistant / lover / mother to an artist whose career she helped build and who she wants to follow together to Paris to start a new chapter in their life. But then he leaves her and takes her money and goes to Paris by himself with a younger woman who's going to have plenty of kids with him. And then she ends up back in Belgrade, broke, alone, without anything. And the only job she can really get, because she's not a party member, involves moving to a place a bit less glamorous than Paris. So welcome to Sirogojno. Population 5,000, 4,000 of those are sheep. There's this expression that time moves slower in small places. In Sirogojno, the watch broke in the 19th century, so the roads are not paved, and the preferred means of transportation is Radomir. And if you think that these big city women have it hard, allow me to introduce to you the Sirogojno woman.
Imagine being a woman in the 60s in Sirogojno. You probably didn't go to school. Probably you don't know even how to read. At the age of 16, you are married. By now, you have 5 kids and 6 on the way. You wake up before dawn to feed animals, then kids, then husband, then clean the house and all over again for dinner. In case you have any free time, you will spend it knitting, because that's the only hobby that you can justify since it produces something useful. Also, knitting connects women from village to create wonderful handcrafts passed through generations of women before you.
Yeah, so Anka arrives into this village and she's embraced by this knitting circle, and they live happily ever after. Not really, because this is not a Hallmark show. And she spots a good business opportunity. In these women and in their art, she sees potential. Being a person who hasn't been recognized her whole life, she's able to recognize them. And as she talks to them about art, about starting something great together, they're looking at her like she's lost her mind. What is this big city woman who's 30 and has nothing to show for talking about? Using fancy words like fashion? They're not really eager to have anything to do with her, and they don't really believe in what she's talking about.
Well, there have been some mistrust and misunderstanding between Anka and the village women in the beginning, but supported by Anka enthusiasm, they start dreaming for the first time. As they work together, their dreams start turning into reality. So, where are we now? In Hotel Esplanada. And these pictures show the fashion exhibition 1971 in Esplanada. After that, the sky was the limit. Everybody wanted to wear Sirogojno sweaters, from America to Japan, from Nancy Reagan through Queen Elizabeth II to Jovanka Broz.
Yeah, and so we imagine that the audience would be thrilled to watch women knitting for 6 episodes and being successful. But in reality, the road to runways is very slippery and difficult. It's kind of like this gyroscope they talked about. It's full of struggles and obstacles. Because again, I mean, it's 60s female entrepreneur communism. Imagine just the challenges of supply, demand, production. For instance, in one case, Anka realizes that the local wool is a bit lower quality and a bit too tough on the Western European skin. So what she decides is to get Australian wool. However, this puts her in conflict with the local sheep herders and a patriotic local politician who's also making money from the local sheep herders. In order to keep things running, she has to find wool elsewhere, and that will kind of bring to having diplomatic relations with a very with a country that's very foreign and bizarre called Iceland. And that's where they'll spend an entire episode negotiating with them and try to come to terms. At the same time, when they want to get more international, 120 ambassadors' wives arrive to the village. Now, the problem is that some of the villagers, because of the mentioned wool incident, really try to sabotage them on every corner. Some newly discovered models are creating big egos for themselves. And when Anka, even despite that, manages to get to Paris, she comes to the point where she can get everything she wanted at the start of our story. She also meets the old flame, you know, the asshole we mentioned, and gets offered by a famous French designer to buy the entire collection. But that comes with the catch and a condition to put his own name on it. So this sounds like all exciting and tough obstacles, but imagine all the obstacles that the women of Syro are going to have to face. Imagine what it's like, so Anka in the beginning says, she tries to make a compromise. She says, nothing much will change. The women are going to work, but they're still going to be on top of their household chores. Except things do change. The women, for the first time in their lives, start making money. For the first time in their lives, I mean, imagine the situation where a woman starts earning more than her husband, where a woman is the one who buys the first TV in the house. What happens if the husband loses his job and she becomes the sole breadwinner? What happens if the woman can earn money to potentially even leave an abusive husband behind? So Anka really wants to help these women. She really believes she's helping them. But at the same time, the situation is complex, and it's always walking on a delicate line and a delicate but very well-reaffirmed power dynamic that has been there for centuries.
So look at this picture. This is our real protagonist with knitters from 1987. And this picture shows the recognition these women got from the country by getting the first pensions. Well, the husbands were quite happy about that as well.
So the question is now, if everything is so nice, why is this sheep so gloomy and depressed? Well, I'll tell you. Because this sheep knows that the socialist utopia is coming to an end and that the drums of war can be heard on the horizon. So welcome to the 90s. Yugoslavia deteriorates from the inside. International sanctions are imposed from the outside. The company is crumbling since it can't import wool. It can't export their product. Salaries are late. And Anka faces a very difficult decision. A decision in which she has to decide between the dream, her dream that she created, and the people that helped her create this dream.
So why we want to make this series? In our country, there are plenty of statues and monuments of male leaders and warriors, also the streets named by the painters, scientists, architects. This series is our monument to our grandmothers and grandmothers, and all the women whose work has never been recognized or appreciated.
This series is also about ambition and persistence and making your dreams come true despite incredible challenges. But below that, we are very interested in exploring a contemporary topic. a struggle, a divide between our desire to pursue our passion, our dreams, our identity even, versus our duties and our need for belonging and collective responsibility. And between these two arenas, we are constantly pulled.
So we are here, and we are looking for partners who are passionate about this project as we are. We are looking for co-producers and broadcasters from region. Our idea is to make as a co-production between region and Iceland and France. Also, we are looking for distributors and sales agents in early stage of development. At the moment, we are in script stage development.
Yeah, and there's more, but I think we are out of time, and we can talk over a drink, and thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Moving on from the struggles of women in 60s to struggles of women in modern age. Can you imagine like a really, really bad day in your life? Like a time where you felt really low, really sad, depressed, anxious. And in that moment, you probably really wanted a sign from universe, just someone, a higher power, whatever you believe in, to tell you what's gonna be next and what you should do. And just imagine that the universe says, okay, I can do it. And here's a couple of your dead relatives. And they'll follow you around and they'll tell you the answer to every question you need to know. And seriously, they've got all the knowledge from their life that they lived, plus the afterlife wisdom. And I've literally given them a book that's called The Universal Manual to Living a Good Life. And they're supposed to follow it. So it turns out, actually, that your kind of dead relatives kind of act like those who are still alive, and that the higher power upper management doesn't have a clue and doesn't know that this manual hasn't been updated in decades or so. So now you still have your problems, your depression, your anxiety and everything, plus you're fairly convinced that you're going mad because you see dead people set on giving you advice on how to live your life. What's gonna happen from here? This is essentially the premise to the Missing Life Manual. And this is just a technical slide that's gonna tell you what we are gonna be hearing next. So now it's time to meet our first character, and this is Nada. She's a woman who just turned 30, and she's been battling existential crisis, depression, anxiety for as long as she can remember. She's got a job she hates but needs in order to survive, and she's got no boyfriend, almost lost touch with all of her friends due to the turmoil going on in the world. And it is precisely Nada who one day, after a particularly hard day at work, asks the universe for guidance, just any sort of sign to help her navigate the struggles of modern life. And after she wakes up, she realizes the help above is actually here, and it's in the form of her grandma and great-grandma who only she can hear or see. And this is the first time that we meet the grandmothers. They do have their names and character specifics, but I'm not gonna go in that due to time restraints. For now, just think of Emily Gilmore, kind of less posh, a bit more Balkan style. Now, of course, Nada is a rational woman, and she immediately thinks that she has lost it. And she decides to book a therapist, but she's limited with money, and therapists are expensive, and everything that she can afford is Nina, and this is where we meet our fourth female character. Nina is in her 50s, she's a heavy smoker, kind of depressed herself, and going through a divorce and deeply uninterested in her client's issues. That is until she realizes that her new client, Nada, has these grandmothers following her around, and she thinks, well, this is something different, maybe I can learn something from them, because all the regular life advice has already miserably failed her. And this is how Nada and Nina begin their weekly therapy sessions. Nada hopes to improve her life and get rid of the grandmothers, and Nina hopes to hear more about these grandmothers and their advices, so she convinces Nada that the best professional ways to move forward is not to ignore the grandmothers, but actually
analyze what they're saying, because it's probably just a way that Nada's subconsciousness is speaking to her. In the meantime, the grandmothers are also kind of confused, not because they're not expecting to be on Earth, because apparently this is something that happens more often than we think, but because they were supposed to guide Nada through life following this strict manual. It's called the Universal Manual to Living a Good Life, but they don't have the access to it. What happened? Due to increasing life's complexities, all of the employees in charge of updating the life manual have been quitting over the years, so it hasn't been updated in decades or so, which means that the grandmothers have to rely on their experiences on Earth and one another to help Nada, which turns out not to be easy and very funny due to their differing personalities and very poor understanding of life in 2022. And this is now a story of two women, two of them alive and four women, two of them alive and two of them ghosts, who will, over the course of the season, create a unique bond and become unexpected allies, united in their mission to make sense of this life, two, so they can live it, and two, so they can help. This series is episodic in nature. The episodes are meant to last 20 to 25 minutes, and this means the pace is fast. For references, think of The Community or The Good Place. And the premise of the story is set in the pilot episode. And each next one follows a specific subplot, so we're dealing with specific issues in each episode. And this is how it's set. In their initial session, Nina instructs Nada to buy a notebook and writes about a specific issue that she's dealing with every week, so they could go through it in therapy. And these issues vary in severity, and they could include boyfriend drama, problems with money, but also like really serious things like panic attacks and the overwhelming feeling of doom because of everything that's going on in the world, but also like petty drama with neighbors or sticking with dietary regimes. It could be like literally anything. And the issue is each episode's main focus, as well as a chapter in Nada's notebook, and going through them and writing small advice, conclusions, or reminders for herself at the end of each episode. She's basically writing her own life manual, which we saw missing in the first part. And now these episodes' resolutions come as a combination of traditional therapy tools, the grandmother's advice, and Nada's own reasoning. But it's not an easy road, and this is precisely the comedy core of this series. Nada's problems, however serious they are kind of lightened by Nina's remarks on how she has it worse, or the grandmother's horrified faces when they hear about therapy in general, just regular grandmother-like commentary on her inability to cope with life and stuff like that. Just like any grandmas, these grandmothers are not quiet, they're not shy, they're not really shy to make their advices and thoughts heard. But ultimately, after she dismisses about 70% of what's being told to her, Nada always realizes that these experiences have these unique humanness, in essence, in common. All four women actually agree that all those issues that she's going with, however reluctantly, is valid. And they see that the problems might differ across generations, but the essential issues and emotions actually remain the same, so she can actually use parts of their advice adjusted to modern life. And most of all, thanks to these three women, Nada discovers the importance of a community, solving different issues throughout the series, and she reconnects with her friends and gets close to Nina. And as the first season ends, we discover that it's not the supernatural advice that actually helped her, but the fact that she's got someone to rely on, like a community. And this turns to be just goes on to say that the supernatural element in this series is not really a key part in it, it's just a tool. This is a modern-day tale. It's inspired by real-life difficulties we'll all struggle with, more or less, and real-life family connections, but we all know are deeply immersed in a lot of love, but also lots of misunderstanding. It deals with problems, but also offers hope. And it's fun, witty, reliable, even though it struggles with it actually is about really serious issues. It's the mood of the scene is quite the contrary. Just like Derry Girls, they're doing like really serious things, but the writing is really hilarious. I won't say that the appeal is universal. I don't really believe in the concept, but I do believe it has the potential to reach a wide audience. It needs to be cleverly written, of course, with lots of back and forth lines, like funny little lines. And on that note, my name is Katarina. I'm a political scientist by education and an IT company copywriter by vocation. And my friends say that I can write a 5-page essay on a chair if I put my mind to it. And one day, I hope to see my name in a bookstore window. I currently work and live in Belgrade, and you can find me in these contact details, or you can just shout out my name in a hallway. And thank you so much for your time and attention. That's it.
All right. Hello again. This time, I would like to ask you if you would be interested in a new luxurious fragrance. But what if I told you it was a digital perfume that existed only inside your computer? Probably not so much. But there were people interested. This perfume, the world's first digital perfume, was sold as an NFT for 13,800 euros worth of cryptocurrency. So the physical perfume, the thing that you actually can smell and use, costs around 150 euros. And the digital version was sold for 90 times the price. And you know what? It's not even the craziest NFT project out there. But let's step back for a moment before we dive deeper into the technobabble, and let me ask you another question. Who here has heard about cryptocurrencies? Right. Who here owns any amount of any crypto coin? Okay. Now, who here has heard about NFTs, or non-fungible tokens, otherwise known as really expensive JPEGs? Okay, does anybody own any NFT? Great, good for you. So we would be on the same page, more or less. I would like to quickly define what an NFT is. NFT, or non-fungible token, is a unique digital file. It can be an image, it can be a video or an audio file, but the owner of a file can prove the ownership. So anybody potentially could copy that file, but they would not be the owner. So it's something like you can own a replica, a perfect replica of Picasso, but your replica will be around a few hundred euros, while the original is in millions. So that is the main difference. Even if you don't own any NFTs or cryptocurrencies, you probably have heard something about the crazy amounts of money that people spend on something that is basically their Twitter profile image. Nobody really knows if NFTs is just a fad or it's the next stage of internet and ownership, but the digital gold rush is real. NFTs and cryptocurrencies is a wild, wild west of cyberspace where things go crazy and money flows high, and that is a great space to create a TV show. And that's where my project comes in. The NFT Hunt is an exciting CryptoPunk series about power, friendship, and greed. It also leads to the world's biggest NFT treasure hunt ever. So yeah, what I'm gonna go through is quickly about the characters, the story, and where did I get the inspiration. So how does it all start? When Leon, a crypto guru and a blockchain bootcamp leader, dies under mysterious circumstances, his 5 best students receive an email. There's a hardware wallet hidden somewhere in Berlin, and that hardware wallet contains an NFT that costs 100 million euros. They, as his best and most trusted pupils, have an opportunity to find it. All they have to do is work together and follow the trail of clues that start from this very email. So that's how it begins. We have 5 protagonists. All of them use the same technology, but for different reasons. And there's a lot of potential conflict between them. First, we have Stefan. He thinks that blockchain is technology that powers cryptocurrencies and NFTs. He believes that it is a power for good. He wants to build projects like a blockchain-based ID system for refugees without documentation and other great projects using blockchain. Then we have Mia. She's a TikTok celebrity musician with Tourette's syndrome. She uses the Tourette's syndrome-caused tics as part of her music. She sold her latest album as an NFT, and she teaches other musicians to do the same because she hates the greedy companies and streamers who pay a fraction of a cent to the artist while making millions. And we have Alexander. He really doesn't care about technology, just how much money it's going to make him. That's a lot of people in the space. We have Darna. She's a Filipino-born gamer and Twitch streamer, and she really believes in play-to-earn gaming. And play-to-earn games, and this is a real example, not in the show, this is a real-life example that happens, are games where players can earn money. They earn it in cryptocurrency and can change into their own currency or directly to services or products. And one of the games, Axie Infinity, was popular all around the world, but especially in the Philippines, and it gave opportunities to people to earn a living and provide for their families during the pandemic especially. So she believes in it, and she wants to create her own play-to-earn game to bring more people who don't have access to traditional markets into this market. And last but not least, we have Felix. He is a crypto-obsessed YouTuber who on one drunken evening was live streaming, and he bought this crazy NFT called Ether Rock, and the price shot sky high. And this again is a real example, not in the show. This particular NFT, it's a screenshot of NFT, not the actual NFT, was sold for $1.7 million. So Felix got lucky, but he wants to prove himself as a real crypto genius, not a lucky drunk bastard, as some of the YouTube commenters termed him. So we have 5 protagonists, 100 million euros worth of NFT, so potentially with 20 million euros each, they could pursue their goals, but they're not friends, not in the beginning. So the team starts fracturing really quickly, and eventually they split up. And they split up because somebody leaks information to the media, and it becomes front page news around the world. Thousands of people flock to Berlin in pursuit of this fabled NFT. It's the hordes that the city hasn't seen since the inception of Pokemon Go. And to make matters worse, criminals come in and they start hunting our characters, so they would lead them to NFT and to the money. But the question is, who leaked the information? And there's something our characters don't know. And something is that Leon, the crypto guru, their teacher, the guy who started it all, is actually alive. And leaking the information to the media was just part of his elaborate plan to create the world's most expensive NFT. So the NFT in the beginning was totally worthless. It's the hunt for it that is creating its value. In any other industry, he might end up in prison, but in a wacky crypto world, Leon might just get away with it, unless our characters band together, forgo their differences, and beat the crypto mastermind in his own game. So this is a story of the NFT Hunt. It's an action drama. There are 6 episodes envisioned for the first season, 60 minutes each. The hunt itself, the treasure hunt, wraps up in 1 season, but there are potential for more seasons of the same characters. It's currently in early development stage, so I'm looking for any interested producers. Currently, it is set in Berlin, but it could potentially be work in any big European city, because blockchain cryptocurrencies, they don't really have borders. And as for inspiration, here we go. I already talked about myself in the first presentation, so here I will add, I'm not just a space nerd, I'm a nerd in general. I love technologies, and I do tend to incorporate my knowledge in the shows that I write. And I do believe in blockchain. I think it is a very important technology that will affect the things that are coming in near future. So something like in the 90s, the rise of internet and startups affecting what we have now. Facebook, Twitter, Google, smartphones, everything started in the 90s as the rise of the internet. So I believe that the NFT Hunt is a fresh and relevant show, but the themes of power, friendship, and greed are timeless, and this is kind of a perfect combination of both. So I am really looking forward to talking to you about them any of these days. So thank you very much for your attention.